Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for coming to the library today. My name is Nora Dimmick. I'm the Deputy University Librarian, and it is my distinct pleasure to welcome you to Brown and the Brown Library. Brown University is located in Providence, Rhode Island, on lands that are within the ancestral homelands of the Narragansett Indian tribe. The Narragansett Indian tribe, whose ancestors stewarded these lands with great care, continues as a sovereign nation today. We commit to working together to honor our past and build our future with truth. It is also my pleasure to introduce our moderator today, Kelly Clifton. She's the head of community engagement for the libraries and an avid reader, an advocate for access, and a lifelong library patron. She is introducing her 2 young children to the joy of libraries by exploring libraries in every city they visit. Under Kelly's leadership, the library's community engagement programming is building connections and cultivating strong and enduring partnerships with colleagues across Rhode Island, including the Providence Public School District, the Providence Public Library, the community libraries of Providence, and many other literary adjacent community organizations. She has taken a vision for the Brown Library to create a meaningful and impactful community engagement program for the local community and made it a reality through her passion for making a difference through partnership. We're lucky to have her. Kelly.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much for coming today, and for our alumni, welcome back to Brown. The sun's out, so that's a good thing, but I'm sorry the weather isn't a little bit warmer for you. But I have the pleasure of introducing my colleagues and friends here on the stage, so I'm just gonna go down the line. So first we have Kimberly Yeaw. And Kim has been an educator for 30 years, a secondary mathematics teacher for 14 years, and a school library media specialist at the Providence Career and Technical Academy for the last 16 years. As a librarian, Kim is trained as an instructional coach to work with teachers to improve their practice and take on leadership roles as the technology support teacher and the electives department lead. Kim's highest achievement has been earning the School Librarian of the Year for the state of Rhode Island in the 2023-2024 school year. Kim believes the library is the heart of the school, where students can find a comfortable, safe environment to learn, explore, discover, collaborate, and cultivate relationships. Welcome, Kim. And then Alyson Catalan. Alyson has been a dedicated educator in the Providence Public School District since beginning her teaching career with Teach for America in 2014. Currently serving as the English department teacher leader at Classical High School, Alyson holds 2 master's degrees in special education and English language learning. She is deeply passionate about meeting each student's needs and empowering them to reach their fullest potential. Welcome, Allie. And last but not least, we have Lenwood Thompson III, who is the Director of Advanced Academics for the Providence Public School District. He brings 17 years of experience in education to his leadership role. He is a native of Winston-Salem, North Carolina, a proud native of Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Mr. Thompson is the proud son of an educator and deeply believes that teaching, whether in the classroom or the library, is one of the most noble professions. His teaching journey has spanned kindergarten through 8th grade, and he has also served as both an elementary and middle school administrator. This rich experience informs his commitment to supporting high-quality instruction and equitable access to academic opportunities for all students. In his current role, Mr. Thompson, I always call you third. It's weird to call you Mr. Thompson. Okay. In his current role, Third oversees a range of advanced academic courses and initiatives and serves as the district administrator for all school libraries. He provides professional development, programming support, and critical resources to the dedicated libraries of the Providence Public Schools. Under his leadership, the district has expanded literary-focused initiatives, including the introduction of the Battle of the Books, an engaging quiz bowl competition designed to promote reading, collaboration, and creative thinking among students. Mr. Thompson's vision and advocacy continue to shape a strong academic culture centered around literacy and excellence. Welcome, Mr. Thompson. So I have some questions for each of you, and then just things will kind of come in conversation together. So Kim, we'll start with you.
Okay.
And one of the reasons why we asked Kim to be here is because she has really created library as space at Providence Career and Technical Academy. So that's kind of going to be the frame of our conversation today. So Kim, you have been at PCTA since the school opened. Can you tell us more about your library and the various changes over the years?
Oh, sure. Our library, when I walked in, there was not a book on the shelf. And so I've put over 5,000 books on the shelves. Since the beginning, I've cultivated a collection that focused on the technical areas as well as enhancing the reading for pleasure for the students. It's really hard to find young adult books on electricians and carpentry. So I had to vet quite a bit. And even then, it's very hard to find those texts and to keep them there because the kids like to take them and keep them. So I also wanted it to be a place where they could go and feel safe and relaxed. With the help of Brown, we've been able to renovate and refurnish the whole library and put comfortable seating and movable chairs so that it's can be a learning environment as well as a place for them to just socialize at lunchtime or when they've completed their assignments or projects, they could come in and work collaboratively.
Great, thank you. And speaking of collaborative, through our project, we've done collaborative collection development for all PPSD high school libraries. Kim has she's our organizer. Her spreadsheets are beautiful. So you mentioned this a little bit, but what's your process in choosing books for your students? And can you provide insight as your role as a librarian? Maybe like walk us through a typical day.
Oh, well, which one do you want?
Nothing's typical though, I guess.
There's nothing typical. Well, I will. I'll first answer the first half about collection development. Well, of course, I want the input of the students, and I can't read every book on the shelf, but I do read an extensive amount. I'm on the Rhode Island Teen Book Award Committee, which, if you're not familiar, is about 20, 25 librarians, both public and school librarians, and we meet monthly, about eight times a year. We read collectively, well, maybe 60 to 70 books over the course of the year that have been published in the last 2 years. And we choose the top 20. And then we encourage the students to read them and vote on them, and we select the best book of the year. So, along with being part of that, I get to read the best books that are out there. It gives me some experience, not just novels, but graphic novels and nonfiction, which I wouldn't tend to pick up if I was in a bookstore. So it pushes me to try something different. I also talk to the students because they love manga, and that's a Japanese form of literature. And I can't read all of those because some of those series are like 20, 30, 40 volumes. So I ask them questions and then I investigate. And some of the websites out there, like School Library Journal, really helps us to vet and narrow down our selection in the books that we choose. But mostly student input is how I make my choices. Now, a day in a life, well, at Providence Career and Technical Academy is very different than at Classical. I don't have a lot of readers in my building because most of them, the juniors and seniors, every other day, they spend the entire day in tech. So they're not venturing out of the tech classroom to come to the library. But I spend a lot of time with technology, working with kids on individual assignments, and just managing the space, helping kids who do want to read to pick the book of their choice. My library is genreified, which is the only library in the district that has so far. So if a student will come in and they won't know the author of the book, they may show me the cover, but they're like, I really like romance. And I'll be like, all right, go to the romance section. So I've divided all the books up into about 8 different genres so that they have an idea where they can go right to the graphic novels or the manga. And there's not a lot of choice. I want to give them it's not a lot of difficulty in them choosing. I want them to choose on their own instead of having to always come to me for suggestions.
Yeah, and I'd love for you to just explain your library, just kind of for folks who've never been there before. It is a beautiful, very large space that you've really cultivated. And I mean, she's very creative. She makes signs from her Cricut. Like, tell us more about the heart and soul of your library, which is you, but how you've sort of made it a place for students to feel really comfortable.
Okay. Well, like I said, it's gentrified. Um, our building used to be a factory, so it's surrounded by bricks and cement on one side of the building. It's over a block and a half large. It takes 5 minutes to walk to the main office and back. It's just stretched out. So it's a large spaced room, but all the bookshelves are only on the two perimeter walls. So the rest of it is all open with a small counter in the center that used to have desktops, but with the one-to-one Chromebooks that we have in the district now, desktops are really not needed. I have a smart board, and it's a long space, so people that sit in the back of the classroom area can never see the smart board. It's just too small. So we've designed TVs, thanks to Brown, so that we could project the screen in multiple locations. On the other side of the counter, we have a seating area in clusters with a table in the middle where I provide coloring pages, big poster. Sorry, I'm not supposed to hold that too far away. Big posters with some coloring utensils, and then I sometimes put out a puzzle for them to work on. And in the back area, we have high top tables. So it's different levels of seating between tables, cushy chairs like these, high top tables. And I have two conference like tables that have TVs attached. So that's the big gaming section. At lunch, the kids bring their units and they just use the HDMI cable and they play video games and they compete with each other. So it's a very open space for them just to come and relax. The door is continuously opening and closing.
That's a good thing. So PCTA has hosted quite a few author visits. So previous to our partnership with Brown and the funding that we've received, what was the process of securing an author like?
So we did, well, actually, Providence School Department offered a PPSD CARES grant during COVID. And the high school librarians, we all teamed together and wrote a grant to ask Elizabeth Acevedo to come to our school. I hosted it at PCTA. It was during COVID, so only half the number of students like we had for Jason Reynolds was able, because we had to design it that they only had every other seat. We paid for buses to come from all the other schools. I mean, PCTA, Classical, and Central, they could all be together, so they walked. They didn't need a bus. But we did programming to lead up to this culminating event. We were able to purchase one of her books so that we did an all-district read. So every school got 100 copies to distribute and share with the students. They could keep them if they wanted or share with other classmates. We did a poetry slam because the book that we chose, which the title is escaping me right now. Anyway, what was it? The Poetex. Thank you. And it's written in verse. So we had Tina Kane come in, and she did, in each of the high schools, she did a 2-hour session to teach the kids how to write poetry. It was an amazing amount of activities, and we were just so proud of it. But it was a lot of work, and we only had a little bit of money. So we made what we could out of it. With Brown, we were able to get Jason Reynolds. I could say that I have reached the top by having him. He's amazing, and where we could never have afforded to have him come to our school before Brown came.
And so last fall, we had Jacqueline Woodson come to PCTA and meet with students, and we bussed in students from every high school.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the spring, well, I guess it's still spring,
Yep.
March, we had Jason Reynolds come,
Mm.
which was really exciting. And we had a student moderate his visit, which was really cool. We have a slideshow of photos, so we'll probably show it after, and you can see some pictures from that. Thank you, Kim.
Thank you.
Oh, sure.
Oh.
Kim, you can take that one.
Oh, he is an acclaimed author, mostly YA, but he also writes children's and middle school. He is the what do they call it? The Library of Congress ambassador. He was for 2 years because it was during COVID. He is he just speaks from the heart. He writes from the heart. He writes all different types of genre, and his most recent is a romance, even though he swore he would never write a romance. Um, and he just connects with every student. And meeting him in person was everything that I imagined. He's just so down to earth. And I just would like to say that he came very early at 9 o'clock in the morning, but he wasn't speaking to all the high schools until about 11:30 or so. I got to sit with him for 1 hour by myself and chat with him. And he was so gracious. Teachers were coming in just fangirling him. They were so excited. And then he sat with my PCTA students, and we had about 60 of them in our library, and just patiently signed multiple autographs and photos. And kids wrote poetry and wanted to share with him. I had students that have never read before asked to read 2 of his books that we got to do. Well, one of them was The Long Way Down, and then Stamped is a little harder for him, but his most recent one is 24 Seconds from Now, and
Which is one of the Rhode Island Teen Book
awards this year. Yes, Stamped was at one time, and Long Way Down was also on the list at one point. So yes, and just a plug for him. There's going to
he's
be a
watching.
movie for Long Way Down. So yes, there's a off-Broadway play for Long Way Down out now.
Do you want to talk about the book cafe you set up for him?
Oh yeah,
for the
so
books too?
along with the theme, like I did for Elizabeth Acevedo, I decided to expand out beyond having just the English teachers reading the book. I reached out to the graphics department, gave them Long Way Down as a graphic novel, so we could work with them on how to write graphic novels. And we're hoping that the author that we're having next year be able to do a clinic for our graphics kids for graphic novels. Anyway, um, so then I also had English teachers, writing teachers, history teacher read Stamped. But one of the English teachers, Shannon, who was a moderator for Jason Reynolds, she's the teacher leader at my school. She had her classes read any of the books, about 4 or 5 of them. And then I invited them in and set up the library like a restaurant. And all the discussion questions, which the students wrote, I put on a menu and set it up. And then I served hot chocolate and snacks and water. And they selected the table of the book that they read, and they had a discussion. And the feedback was amazing. They said they would love to do it for every book that they had to read. They had so much fun. It was something different. And we called it the PCTA Readers Cafe.
This is a great segue over to Allie. Thank you, Kim. One of the touch points of our project is to really solidify the library as the heart of the school. And in order to do that, we need to partner with teachers. So just like you partnered with the history and English teachers, we're doing that as well in our project. So we'll bring Allie into the conversation. And Allie is at Classical High School, and she's the teacher lead for the English department there. So as the English language arts teacher leader, can you share your goals for your students and colleagues?
Sure, absolutely. Can you hear me? Okay. I'm very blessed to work with a department full of dedicated colleagues. So they share my vision in that we not only want to inspire our students a love of reading and engaging with the content, but also being prepared not just to get into college, but stay in college so that they can finish and graduate. Sorry, Kelly, can you repeat the question?
Yeah, sure. So what are the goals for your students and colleagues?
So yes, aside from, we also very lucky to collaborate with our librarian. Shout out to Maura Keating, who's our librarian at Classical, who also helps us get a wide array of really high interest books for our students. So first and foremost, as English teachers, we want our students to read something that they enjoy. But on the other hand, we also want to expose them to high academics, and again, get them not only into college, but in, success and to stay in college as well.
And so you're in a cohort of teachers who instruct the junior research project. Do you want to tell us about the scope of the projects and kind of the goals for the students with that?
Absolutely. So the junior research project is one of those courses, I think almost the most important course that gets students really ready for college. I've been teaching for 11 years, and every single year without fail, I have students email me asking for copies of their project or saying how helpful that process was. So we're, so glad that we got to also collaborate with Brown on this project as well. What it is students get to pick any topic of their choice. It usually is some sort of problem. So we'll ask the students, like, what is an issue that you see in the world today that you want to see fixed? And so they take kind of an argumentative standpoint. It's like a problem and solution format. And they do, the goal is to write a 10-page scholarly research paper and then present a 12-minute presentation in front of a panel of judges. It's usually teachers, parents, and adults from out in the community. So it's really great because the students all pick it. There's no censorship of topics. The sky's the limit. They can choose anything that they're interested in studying, and then they get to engage in the research process, which is really fun.
And since our partnership started, we've been able to have classical students come to Brown to do the research. So can you tell us about the tools that you have at classical? So if the students were researching a subject, where would they go to find information?
Yeah, that's a great question. And again, shout out to Ms. Keating. She has curated our library website on the classical page with some search engines such as EBSCO or AskRI. But what's been really great is the students, when they get to come to Brown and do the research, they love using Bruno. They download as many articles as they can. So it's really great to have them kind of exposed to the more basic and accessible, in the public domain search engines at school. But then when they get to come here, they get to take it one step further and really, expand on their search. So that's been really amazing. The students love coming on the field trip. It's always a highlight of the year.
Yeah, so it's been really fun. We've been able to host about 6 classes, I think, over the last 2 years. So we'll bus the kids in from classical, which is just down the hill from us here. We give them lunch, which is always really exciting. And these kids, they eat at like 10:30. So we call it brunch, but that's the first thing they do when they get here is they eat. And then we have actually our academic librarians lead them in a research workshop, really, amplifying the work that you're all doing in the classroom. But I think it helps to sort of pump it up a little bit more when they're here and they're talking to a different set of adults. And then they either bring their own devices or we have some Chromebooks through our library, and they have access to all the different research databases that we have here. And I mean, Nora, how many research databases do we have? Thousands. And they're behind a paywall. So we can give students this access when they come here to Brown. And again, we ask them to download their articles because unfortunately, the minute they leave, it's no longer accessible to them. And that's something that we're trying to work on to make sure that they don't just have to come here, because getting kids, it's not hard to get the kids out of the classroom. It's hard to get the permission to get the kids out of the classroom because everything is really busy. So it'd be so great if we could bus every single high school student here so they could have access to our databases. But what we're trying to do as well is offer professional development to teachers to sort of train the teachers on how to, deliver content that they would maybe find here, but it's a finite amount of people we can have and time in the school year, right? So can you tell me more about how the experience of coming to Brown has enhanced their research skills and especially understanding of academic libraries since they're actually doing the research here?
Absolutely. I think true to teenagers, anytime you can hear someone other than, your teacher say something, it resonates with them that much more. So it's so helpful we get them started. We only pretty much have the students for like a week or two before we come here. So it's nice to, introduce them. And then when we come here and they're like, wait a second, the librarian said what Miss Catalan said or what Miss Keating said. And we're like, yes, see, this is real. Like, this is what you will do, in college or in academia. So it also just really helps reinforce. Also, just being able to be in the space. I mean, the campus is gorgeous. The students just love, they always want a tour of everything, the library, the grounds, like they soak it all in. They love being here. Just being able to be in this space is also just reinforces too, and really helps motivate them. Like, they're like, yeah, this is going to be me in a year and a half. Like, I want to do this. So I think it just also boosts that confidence. But yeah, they love coming here. They always leave with ample sources. Like, most of their papers all have articles that they got while they were here, which is great. I feel like they get what I can get done in a class. I mean, in like a week of classes, they get done like one day when we come here. So it's just great. It's been a really wonderful experience.
I remember one trip, a student said, I just want to see all the books. And so, I took him to took them all on a tour of the library. And it was just a small cross section. And then we told them that we have an offsite facility that has like millions, and they just got so excited. And it was really nice to hear because, nothing against, Kindles and other sort of reading devices, but nothing beats holding a book in your hands, and especially going to a shelf and selecting it. So that was a really fun reminder to me too, that I was like, oh, they do care about this.
And it's also not just that, like, I know classical, yes, the students, they're motivated, but it's even the students that are not super motivated. Like, when they come here, it really, like, seeing the books, like, they're just not on the computer all day. Like, it really helps them, like, feel, that sense of like, okay, I can do this and this is exciting.
Yeah, and when they find the different genres or topics that they're interested in, I mean, our floors at the library. So this is the John Hay Library, and my office is over at the Rockefeller, and that's where we host the students. So we have different titles over there. But if we're in like the art section, they're like, oh, I wonder if this is here and that. And it's really fun to see them sort of like pair off in groups, and then whoever's the most, communicative about the books that they want to see, they usually end up finding them. As I mentioned, we are in the John Hay Library, and Kim and Allie, you both took a summer professional development workshop in our primary source lab, which is on the 3rd floor of the Hay, if you want to poke around after this. We had staff from Brown. We collaborated with the RISD Museum, the RISD Library, and the Rhode Island Historical Society. Both of you want to share a little bit about that process?
Oh, sure. Yes, it was awesome. I mean, I'm a nerd. I love reading. This is why I'm an English teacher. I love this kind of stuff. And I had a great time. It was one of the best professional developments I've ever attended. My biggest takeaway was the use of primary sources and really how to make it more engaging for students. And like, we got to participate in this activity that broke up a bunch of different sources and then had us use the sources to kind of create the story. That's definitely been something that I've taken back to my school. We've started really collaborating, the English department with the history department at my school, and how we've approached the use of primary sources, especially in our AP Lang classes, which are traditionally more nonfiction, which I also don't tend to gravitate towards. But also from that professional development workshop, we've started implementing in the research course, having students use at least one primary source in their in their paper. So that's been really helpful as well. Yeah.
Well, I can add to that. And yes, after 30 years of being an educator, it was probably one of the best PDs that I've experienced. I just was, it was at August, but it just rejuvenated me and it made me excited about coming back to work. But I was so excited about it, and so did the English teacher that I mentioned, Shannon. She attended it with me. We brought it to PCTA. I invited them all to come, all the same people that taught us here. And I had the English and history teachers. It was quite a movement to get all of them during the day with subs to have all in one space. I know. So they were only able to come for half a day, but and we had lunch provided by our cafe. Our PCTA students has a cafe so they provided lunch for the guests. It was very nice, and the teachers. But even the PCTA teachers just loved it. The actual lessons were wonderful, but how it was presented to the students, to teach a different way. That's what we need PD about, to give teachers a fresh look from different perspectives, not just from administrators, no offense, third, but from other community members that can come in and say, let's look at it from this artistic point of view. And it freshens the classes, that freshens the teachers' ideas. Because after a while, we get stale and comfortable and teach the same way every day. Some of them, they brought it back, and one of the English teachers had his writing class research using all the resources that I had gotten from the lessons. He had them investigating their neighborhoods, and they had to do a presentation on like Fox Point and all the other neighborhoods, West Broadway, Broadway area. And they loved it because they got to learn about where they live and kind of gave them some connection.
I'm sure it energized them too. It's hard sometimes, I'm sure, learning about things that are so far away. It doesn't feel very tangible.
Right.
But yeah, that's a great exercise. We should share that with more people. Allie, do you want to share a little bit more? So I work mostly with the librarians. I get to work with Allie because she just kind of volunteers a lot and sticks her hand up. But we did some additional field trips with classical. I don't know if Maura told you about those, or if I can elaborate on them too. But
I've heard of them.
yeah, so we have a book club, or Classical has a book club, and we were able to bring them to the PBS offices to meet an author. I guess I'm telling everybody what I'm asking you to say, but if you want to share anything else about
Sure,
it.
absolutely. Again, I can't say enough about Miss Keating. She's phenomenal. She's wonderful, and the students totally like. We had a book club, but it was the same 3 or 4 kids that would maybe come, maybe not. But since Miss Keating's come in and again just expanded the offerings, gotten students excited about reading, she's really grown the book club so much. And again, with help from Brown to get titles that kids want to read, they get to choose. A lot of the times they are the youth books for the year that they get to pick from. But the students had such a great time. And it's so awesome. Even when, I didn't get to go, unfortunately, I would love to in the future, but to hear students just excited about reading and books and having these outside experiences, it really stays with them more than any lesson, that they get one day in class does. So I think she's created such a great sense of community with students. And some of them were also reluctant readers, some of them that are in the book club. So that's also just adds another layer too. It's like getting students who wouldn't normally be in the book club, but they're, not only reading, they're engaging, they're getting to do the field trips. It just kind of brings it more full circle for them. But I know the students just had the time of their lives. They loved it.
They did a lot of selfies with the TV screen in the back, which was fun.
Yes, they love to come and show all the pictures too. Yep.
Thank you, Allie. And so Lenwood is Lenwood Thompson III, and his preferred name is Third. So I'm going to call him that because that's what I call you. So Third, you're the Director of Advanced Academics for the Providence Public School District. How does your work overlap with the library and librarians?
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. So glad to be here. So in my position, I basically have 3 main jobs. So one, I supervise the librarians from the district level, but my work primarily is with the advanced classes in middle school and our AP classes in all of our high schools. So definitely building a bridge for collaboration has the overlap with the libraries. As we said earlier, the libraries are the center and the heartbeat of all of our schools. And so making sure we have robust programming outside the classroom so we can bring back the joy of reading. If anybody knows me well, I love to see kids reading and talking about books and it not be a grade. Don't tell anybody. But I would really love for kids to be engaged in authentic reading and the dialogue behind it. We want all our kids to go to higher education, and what is the most intimidating fact? Reading, writing. So how do we lessen that load? By providing opportunities in the schools through clubs, through other initiatives, so that students feel connected, they feel supported, and they feel empowered to be better readers.
Thank you for that. So I pulled a little tidbit here that I'll just share with folks. Vocabulary is the #1 predictor of occupational success. After 4th grade, vocabulary develops exclusively through reading. And statistically, 33% of high school students never pick up a book after graduation, and 42% never do after college. So we're here to try to fix that. We want to instill that love of reading from an early age. So do you want to tell them about the Battle of the Books?
Yes. So The one thing I really love about our school district are the teachers, the teacher leaders, the staff. And the one thing that I wanted to start was an initiative that brings all students together across the district. And we started this year with our elementary schools and our middle school students doing Battle of the Books. Now, here's a time where kids get to decide they are the gatekeepers. Though they have a list of books, they get to form different teams within their school and they get to compete in a quiz bowl. The amazing part of it all is we're giving these students lifelong skills, and actually the dialogue that you hear within their groups and the support that they have will make the hairs on your arm just stand up. Everybody's excited. We're looking forward to next year, adding in high school. So our high school students will be participating as well. But the one thing we really want to focus on is just, again, that joy of reading. And the fact that they're on a team, they're like, I'm ready. I've been reading. Did you know this? And then they just start rattling off facts, and you're just like, wow. You did more than just read the book. You started researching about the author, knowing more about the genre, and we wanted to make sure we introduce students to all genres too. So the books that are selected, and our goal ultimately is to compete on a national level. We're not there yet. We've just begun. But again, how do we create those initiatives within our schools? One, that are sustainable, two, that can be supported by our community. So we also have a partnership with the Community Librarians of Providence. And so hosting activities, they have hosted several activities where families could come out, students could come out, and they could work on different activities to, again, enrich their experience with text. It's not about a grade. It's about a love of reading and then getting to celebrate. Now, the quiz bowl, that competition piece, just like we've been talking about reluctant readers, in my past as a classroom teacher, students want to compete. And I had great success teaching in Title I schools in low-income areas, and my students were always the winners. So it's also my baby that I wanted to, thank you, that I wanted to bring to the district, because across the board, this is what unites us all. That opportunity, that access, and again, making sure students feel supported.
And can you tell us about the partnership that Brown had with PPSD for Battle of the Books?
Oh my gosh, where do I start? From just the conversation initially, the one thing that I want to thank Brown for is having a vision to make sure that they serve as a bridge for the community to higher education. So can we clap it up for Brown? I appreciate you. But Brown has also pushed me in many, many ways, so I have to highlight this. So we created a steering committee which involves parents of PPSD students, community members within PPSD, as well as Brown. And together, we've created what has been the Battle of the Book program. And so part of the partnership are purchasing text. So we've been very responsive, not only to purchase the text in English, but to find Spanish versions so that we can be more inclusive of our students that speak other languages. And how hosting the event and all the logistical things. When I tell you Brown has gold, I'm just amazed at people who have not been to Brown, who live in the area, have not worked with as our colleagues in education. I'm like, they're amazing. They know what to do. They know how to structure programs that are really rigorous for our students. And I think that alone is just the vision. So thank you, Nora. Thank you, Kelly, for your vision and seeing the importance of why we need programs like this in our schools. Additionally, on the school level, for those schools that didn't compete, there have been book clubs that have been started at schools. So very similar to the high schools and a lot of our elementary school and middle school, instead of students being in trouble, instead of students just hating that time and being disruptive, they've created smaller groups. So this has branched out. So next year, all of that guidance and all that leadership that you have, I have some schools that are going to have like 4 and 5 groups competing. That's amazing. And it all started with just the focus, the partnership, and the program management. Thank you, Brown. Y'all are amazing.
It was a really fun opportunity to partner all together. And as Third mentioned, the Community Libraries of Providence were amazing partners. And the community libraries are interspersed in, there's 9 libraries throughout the neighborhoods in Providence. So quite often they're next to schools as well. So they're places that kids maybe go after school, maybe don't. But this program introduced that as an option for them too, to say, okay, the school day's over, but if you want to extend and be in another community, here's your library, and go there and find your people and do the work.
Can I also add one
sure,
thing?
yeah.
And in our community libraries, there are also other resources. So some of the texts were read on aloud to students. They have different devices and they have different learning structures that help students who are not able to read on grade level be able to access the text. And I think that accessibility was also great too. So we couldn't hear, well, I can't read it. No, they were like, I'm going to the library. They got a device and I'm going to be on it. And I'm like, oh, go for it. Make it happen.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Yes. So that So that's a good question. So in our elementary schools and middle schools, library is a block or elective class that all students take. And so the librarians are reading the text aloud. So with our partnership with Brown, we were able to put multiple copies of the text. So if a student could not read it, the books are, some of them are being shared aloud with students. Also with the classroom teachers, as we've been building out these clubs, the clubs are another way to collaborate. So they're hearing the text, they're reading in small groups together. So it's not just asking kids to read independently, they're able to really work together to read through the books. And I'm glad you asked that question. So as a district, we still have this partners with our literacy initiatives. And so there are different enrichment blocks that are built into the day. And so kids are working specifically on those skill deficits that they have. And so some of the text, because it's not for a grade, I got to mention that again. It's not for a grade. They're used as high interest texts to engage students. So that is part of the goal. We want to make sure students have a text that they want to read and that everybody has a way to access the text.
One of the things about this program as well was we kind of infused like art projects into it too. So, make a picture about
I
the
forgot to talk
title
about
or
the bingo.
Yeah.
So, as a former teacher, and I taught kindergarten through 8th grade, and I love to do bingos. And the reason why, I like when kids are the gatekeepers of their knowledge and they decide what they do. I know, novel idea, right? And so we had different activities where kids were making 3D box dioramas, they were making TikTok videos, they were making skits and plays. So it allowed students to explore different learning modalities to access and continue to talk about the text. So again, it was more than just have I memorized what has happened in a list of books. No, did I really understand what happened? Because the way that the questions are asked in the competition, the kids, the only answer they can give is the title of the book and the author. So for instance, it could be, in what book does a cat in a red hat take over the whole neighborhood and destroy a house? Cat in the Hat by Dr. Seuss would be the answer. So again,
That's 4 points right there for
4 points.
you.
Yes. So again, how can we engage students? And so with the Community Libraries of Providence, students were able to come in on a themed night. So that themed night will be focusing on certain aspects of the bingo. And the bingo was differentiated for elementary and middle school. So we weren't asking the middle school kids to make puppets. No, 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 no. For instance, they may actually have to design a whole wardrobe for one of the main characters based on events that happen in the story. Well, some of our teenagers, they love doing that. They tell us from head to toe, are you dressed right today, Mr. T? Hold on. Shoe cam. Okay. So again, we want to make sure that we were doing everything that we could to allow students to have creativity and to have some say-so as they explore through the text.
Thank you. This is an interesting segue, your question. This is to all, so feel free, anyone, to answer. How are we doing on time, by the way? Okay, perfect. Oh, perfect. Okay. Providence Public Schools have garnered some negative attention due to the state takeover in November 2019. But I would like to center the joy in your classrooms and school spaces. So I'd love for each to just tell a highlight of your year thus far. I mean, there's still a few more weeks, so what's been the highlight from September to May 24th? Yeah.
I'll go.
Sure.
Again, my baby battle of the books, going into the different schools and having that conversation. And even for our students who were on the high school level, I was just discussing with our colleague in the AP class, their siblings are involved in these activities. So just having that buzz and the fact that it's going to grow even bigger and it's a partnership for us and the community. I think that has been the most impactful piece, because as a school district, we need the support of the community. We cannot do this alone.
Thank you. Allie?
Yes, I'll tie mine to the junior research course. Aside from the field trip, which is always a highlight, I'm thinking of one student in particular who began the class this semester and was like, "Miss, I am not writing a 10-page paper. Like, it's not happening. I'm not doing it." And just this past week, not only is her paper done with a primary source and 12 scholarly articles, but she presented a wonderful 10-minute presentation about book bans and how to pass legislation to protect the accessibility of books in libraries. And I'm just like sitting in the back of the room, like wiping my eyes, like, okay, remember when you said you weren't going to do this, and now you absolutely did a fantastic job. So it's those moments, and I always love seeing the final products of their research. So that was definitely a highlight for me.
I have to say, our students are amazing advocates, and we have some local legislature being voted on right now, and we've had students testify on why all types of diverse books should be available in the classrooms and in their libraries. And I mean, any adult can go there and say something, but when the students show up, and everybody's listening, and I just think that that's really powerful. So thanks for sharing that. Kim?
Well, I've already extensively talked about Jason Reynolds. But yes, that was the highlight of my school year, and having so many classes involved. Brown bought over 400 books for my school alone, and the kids devoured
We still
them.
have more coming.
No, that was just for Jason Reynolds.
Oh,
yes.
yes.
She has bought many books. And having the Readers Cafe, and to watch students that generally do not engage in class unless they're on their phone participate in this conversation and eat munchkins and hot chocolate and just be alive and engaging was just amazing to see. And to have someone like Jason Reynolds, who is a huge advocate in the legislature as well.
And a banned book author.
That's right. Almost all of his books are on the banned book list. Anyway, so to have him come and speak to our kids, he looks like our students, and that was huge for them to have that kind of experience, because students were like, I could be a writer. I could do this in the future. And he talked to them like he was just having a conversation. He didn't talk at them. And that's what our kids needed. Yeah, thank you.
So my last question, we have this grant that is 3 years. That's what we wrote, and we are coming up on year 3. So it's time specific. And so as next year will be the final year, what are your hopes for continued partnership with Brown University Library? Anyone can feel free to answer that.
Staying at the table with us with our steering committees. There have been some questions, and there's some other initiatives to spread maker spaces. So looking forward towards that work, and possibly bringing Odyssey of the Mind to PPSD.
He loves to drop these things on me in settings like this where
Oh, what is Odyssey
it's
of the Mind?
recorded, so I'm going to have to follow up with you on that. And Allie at the Classical Library, I feel like we should have explained more about the grant. I feel like we're going backwards. I apologize. But part of the grant was to renovate library spaces. And what we did was we gave each school the opportunity to say what their school needs, right? Every school is different. Kim's a technical school, so the books that she needs are very different from any others. And Classical, and with Maura's leadership, she had a makerspace area in her former library. Classical actually just had a renovation of their building, so the library is one of the first things you see when you walk through the door, which is what every school should have. But we were able to do a makerspace in that library. So there's sewing machines. She does fashion club. There's 3D printers. There are Cricut machines. I mean, there's just a whole bunch of things.
I want to go visit.
I know.
It's really amazing.
It's really
so
amazing,
cool.
and it just expands what libraries can be. So I had to jump in and say that. But
I'm
yes.
glad you did. It was I got to use the makerspace last week, and Maura was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry, there are things," and I'm like, "No, this is great. Like, this is what it should look like. I love it. Like, please leave all the things. Like, it's really an awesome space, and students also love it."
I would love to have a makerspace, but basically my entire building is a makerspace. So I rather make mine more of a community place because it is very segregated. When they're in their tech areas, they're in their tech areas. So I want a place where they could come and socialize. That's why I have varying different heights of tables. I would love to bring in a cafe, but I know that that would not be approved by the school board. um, anyway, I would just like to see more authors and different types, like we were talking about, having an illustrator come in to align with the technical areas, and as well as literary authors, so that we can offer more to these kids than beyond what they're used to in their phones and their TVs. Yeah, that's what I'd like to see.
So we have some time for questions, and my colleagues Jen and John have a microphone just so folks can hear on the live stream if anybody's actually watching. Oh, great. Do you have another question? We're going to give you a mic so everybody can hear. Thank you.
I love the Battle of the Books, but what percentage of the kids are actually doing the Battle of the Books? And is it like a high percentage or a low percentage? And what do we do with the other kids who struggle so much to read? I'm back to that same question because I think, if I'm not mistaken, the literacy rate, like kids are not reading at their grade level. And what are we doing to help those? Those are the kids I'm thinking about. Because the kids you're talking about are doing great. They're writing 10-page papers. Fantastic. But what about the ones who struggle and cannot? And you're saying, there's books being read to them, which is good, but who's helping them learn to read? That's what I'm wondering. Because you need to read in science and math in every single subject, and who's helping them learn? And then my other question was about the bilingual and the multilingual students that we are all facing in schools in Providence. So the two big questions.
So this was our pilot year for Battle of the Books. So we had 6 elementary schools out of all of our elementary schools competing, and we had about 4 of our middle schools competing this year. So we don't have the exact percentage, but I would say it's less than 20% participated this year. However, next year, I know that percentage will be a lot more because schools have begun to build out what does a literature circle look like within a classroom setting? What does a book club look like within our school setting or grade level setting? So we will see an increase in participation next year. When it comes to supporting students, we have a district turnaround plan. Within each of our elementary, middle school, and high schools, we have academic coaches, and we have specific people who come in to work with students. There's specific aligned programming and plans. We also have supportive technology that helps monitor where students are so that we know at any point in the school year where students are, and the information is shared with families so they know my student is at this level. When it comes to our multilingual students, they take what is called access testing, which allows us to see the progress over a year to see where students are. They're tested multiple times during the year just to progress monitor where they are. So there are a lot of initiatives that our district has put in place, and we're seeing an increase in those numbers. I can't quote specifically for literacy, but we're seeing it across the board that our students are growing and we are reaching those students. One thing that I want to say is we do reach students who are not on grade level because of the team atmosphere. That team and working together, our students in elementary school, we don't have sports teams. So what other way than to have this great opportunity for students to say, I want to work with my classmates, and this is what I can bring to the table. That was another reason why we came up with the bingo, because we want students to participate, and every student has an entry point to participate.
And I can speak a little bit about scaffolding at the classroom level as well. So, for example, even within my research class this semester is 27 kids. Within that class, I've got students that read from a 5th grade reading level to a 12th grade. Like, it's just a big span. So one thing which is lovely about library search engines such as Bruno, even for my MLL students, some of the articles, most of them actually, they have audio, they can be translated. And some of them I can even scaffold by reading level. So for example, if I have a student at a 6th grade reading level, I can get them an article that's at a 7th or 8th grade, because we don't want to just keep giving them stuff that's at their reading level. We want to kind of build them up to higher ones. So what I usually do is break my students into groups. Some students, yes, they're good. They can write. They might have even gone to Brown Summer High School. Again, shout out to Brown. And they might be able to do, the project already. Like, they almost don't need me. So those kids are fine. They can do whatever. But then I'll spend, different different parts of the week, sitting with certain students who maybe are more struggling readers. Okay, here's this article. It's slightly above your reading level. How can we break it down? Let's go through it. What's the main idea? What is it? What's the arguments? But yeah, I think a lot of it comes down to differentiation at the classroom level. I also teach pre-AP 9th, which is mixed with my MLL students. I teach AP Lit, same thing. I have so many students that are not at reading level. I think it really comes down to trusting our teachers. I feel confident that I can meet any student where they're at and try to push them, not just by finding the high interest books that are at their level, but by trying to push them a little bit further. Not that I'm going to throw a college level textbook at them because I don't want them to get frustrated and shut down, but it does come a lot to, just trying to figure out, where your students are at and time management and, how can we scaffold. But it is hard, for sure, those research projects, even for students that are on grade level reading wise, it's a lot. It's academic, really scholarly articles. Some are more dense than others, depending on what the, student has chosen to study. But they can all do it. I think it just comes down to how do you structure your class and how are you, scaffolding and differentiating for students who might, need a little bit more time.
I would just like to add that part of the turnaround plan is that majority of the teachers, especially the core teachers, even the math, science, history, all the English teachers, had to go back to school and get their MLL certification or master's while they're teaching. Even teachers that have been teaching for 25 years had to go back and get those certificates. So part of the last 4 years, we've been learning how to teach to our MLL students better. A year to 2 years, depending on the program.
And I'll just say one more thing. With the library project that we're doing, the fact that each school gets to tell us what books they want. So one of our librarians, her students are reading at a lower level and they want Captain Underpants, whereas your students want, graphic novels and something a little bit different. So we're able to also, with this project, meet the students and the school at their needs rather than saying here's, 100 books that we think you should be reading, but these are the books that the students actually want to read, which is, I think, really nice. Any other questions? Sure. Hold on, you gotta wait for the mic, please. I can tell her that because she's my aunt.
Just a quick question. What is the difference, or have you noticed a difference with the state takeover versus being under city rule? Have you noticed a difference?
Ooh, hot question. You want to take this one over, Mr. Administrator?
Yeah. Good question.
Different point of view between an administrator and a teacher.
At this time, that has not been determined, so I cannot offer any specifics on that. What I can say is we always want to make sure that we are monitoring how students are performing, and I would say there's been more transparency in how we are reporting those measures and what does it look like, because we know that students will perform when there are high expectations, but we also don't want to inundate them with multiple testing measures that are doing the same or measuring the same thing. Why should a child take 4 tests that measure the exact same thing? However, what we are doing is being more strategic with our professional development, like I was speaking to earlier with coaches. So what does the coaching model look like? And how are we working with teachers? Because in the previous evaluation system, people would go in every quarterly to measure how a teacher is performing. But looking at more of a coaching model, meaning they're in the class, administrators are in the classroom more, and they're able to see what goes on. So even like for myself at the district level, I come into all classrooms. She doesn't remember when I came in her classroom, but I've been there several times that the kids could probably say, yes, Mr. T's been here several times. We look at his shoes every time. So we are doing different measures to make sure that we are involved in all of our schools from the district level, and making sure that reporting, we are meeting with parents so that they're aware. Most of our schools have tutoring programs available for students. So making sure all of our efforts are strategic and meeting the needs of our students. I wasn't present here, so I can only speak to within the last 2 years of my presence here in the district.
No.
I plead the fifth.
Yep.
Any other questions about our library project? John, do you have a question?
So I'm wondering what the trajectory is. What are you how are you looking forward in terms of your planning, and how do you measure what's happened, and give us some assessment of that?
Sure, that's a great question. And I'm spending a lot of my summer forecasting out what we're going to be doing in the future. So this grant is time specific. It was written within a 3-year time span. We think we've been really successful. So we're hoping that maybe they'll let us extend it a little bit more to continue this work. And I mean, assessment wise, we're looking at the amount of field trips we've been able to bring the students on, the amount of books we've added to the libraries, the different kinds of partnerships we've been able to do. So looking over the whole 3 years, how has it, I mean, we can't really measure student growth within 3 years, but we can show how many books, again, have been added, and the partnerships that we've been able to sort of establish on this, and make a case for why we should continue to do this work. So that's the goal there for me in my role. I don't know if if you want to speak to anything else.
I would say from the district level, looking at student engagement, we're always looking at the efforts and strategic plans that we put together, but also from the boots on the ground. How are we engaging with students and families? And so I think that is one measure that we will be able to see as the success of our partnership, is just that level of engagement. And Brown is amazing. So whatever you decide, we'll do.
I just would like to add that experiencing having to do the grant on our own, and being that I was the lead for the PPSD cares, it was a lot of work to do alongside my job and to manage all that alone. It's been wonderful to have Kelly and Nora support us, and we are able to make connections with community members and authors where we couldn't do on our own. It's just too much, and to have someone outside supporting us. And with the financial situation of the city right now, we have zero budget for books. It's wonderful that I can get my Rhode Island Teen Book Award list of books so that early, because we're going to do summer reading. And since the list is also part of the high school battle of the books, I'm getting my kids ready before summer starts. And so we're able to get those books in when I wouldn't have any money to get them in, and have the students choose the books. I'm making connections with the public libraries so that they can go over the summer and select books from the libraries, whether it's online or in person. And I wouldn't have been able to do all this on my own. And this has been a wonderful experience.
Thank you. Was there another question back there?
Good afternoon. And I want to follow along with what this woman was saying. My question, I am an educator. I've had multiple careers, of which education is one of them. I'm semi-retired. I still go into schools. I will substitute and do elementaries, and so I am impressed when I am at some schools where pre-K students and kindergarten students are telling me they know how to read and will read for me. They're so excited. And then go in and substitute at other schools where rarely anyone in first or second or third grade can read. And you mentioned your battle of the books. Seems very practical. You said there were only 4 schools in the Providence School District participated. Going forward, how do we ensure that this broader, so that I'm not the kid who's in the school or in the teacher's classroom who doesn't want to participate in that, where we assert that public schools are the great equalizer, but yet I happen to be in that school where I don't have that opportunity to get to with what I am seeing when I am in the classrooms where pre-K kids and kindergarten kids are reading in reading above grade level, yet versus the school where the third grader doesn't have a clue and doesn't have that excitement about picking up a book. When I was in second grade, they came to the school to encourage us to get a library card. So how do we get them? And it sounds like this battle of the books seems like an approach that seems to work. I think it can be done. How do we do it where everyone?
Thank you for that
teacher doesn't have
question.
doubt?
Yeah, thank you so much. Go ahead, third.
So again, I must say, in my role, I am limited in some of the influence. I am not the director over reading and literacy. I am the director that is over advanced academics, which includes the libraries. So in my role with with the Battle of the Books, specifically, this is targeted in elementary for 4th and 5th graders. I didn't say that before, so I want to make sure that I do give that detail. When I talked about 4 schools participating, that was specifically middle school. Next year, we're going to have several K-8 schools within our district, so that number will increase with participation in middle school. One of the things when we looked at this pilot year is overhead and cost. And so with the connections that we're making within the community, we're going to be able to have more funding in order to purchase books, because the books alone are very expensive. And so we want to make sure, in order to create equity and access, that we bring on more partners within the community to fund this initiative. I will say this. When it comes to some of the things that are happening in schools, there's always a two-way partnership when it comes to feedback. So if you are observing or seeing any of those things, I do encourage you to meet with the principal. I cannot speak to every school, and I am very saddened by what you said. But what I will say we are trying to do is open the opportunity to all schools next year, instead of just the small number as we did with our pilot, so that the opportunity is there, but it also comes from the community too. So that's why in our steering community, and again, visionary Nora and Kelly, thank you for pushing me in this area to make sure that we bring parents to the table, because it starts at home. And the participation within an initiative like this, students need support at home. And so what we have done, we do have some parents who are leading an initiative to go school by school to talk to the different parent-teacher organizations and administration to make sure that this initiative spreads throughout the district. So that's one strategy, to make sure that the opportunity is offered in every school. Another thing that we can do, and we've talked about this, we're still working on kinks, is using our high school students, because some of our high schools are next to our elementary schools. So how can we have a buddy reader program? Some already have that set up. Some began it this year because of Battle of the Books. So having that older sibling, cousin, or somebody to look up to, because our students do want to model the positive behavior that they see. So we're trying to create initiatives within the district where we have a greater partnership between schools as well. So we have a couple things, I said, in the works, planning so that we can reach all students. And again, having the parent advocates as a part of our steering committee has been a wealth of expertise and just a passion to see this program in every school.
I'm sorry, we have to cut it here because I think we're over time. Oh, that's a great question. So the question was, how much is the grant altogether, and can we get that money again? Yeah, sure. So the grant comes through the Fund for the Children of Providence, Fund for the Education of the Children of Providence, which was an endowment established by Ruth Simmons when she was president here as a result of the Slavery and Justice Report. And so that money is, the through line is direct to PPSD students. So we have a lot of charter schools that have come up since then, private schools that need not apply. This is only for Providence Public School District. And we asked for different disbursements of the money overall. So overall it was 1.15 million for 3 years. The first year we did $70,000, mostly because we bought a lot of things for people's, $600,000. Yeah, $600,000.
We
Yeah.
furnished
We
all the-
furnished a
all the
lot.
lab-
We bought a lot of books. We furnished every library. This year we've been focusing on those co-curriculars and field trips and bringing that up. And then next year, and author visits, and next year is sort of a culmination of all three of those things. So we would like to apply for funding again through the fund. It is administered by the Public Education Committee here at Brown, which is inclusive of administrative staff and community members. And we have some PPSD students who are on that committee as well and oversee the disbursement of funds. And with that, I'm going to close us and thank our panelists for being here. And thank you all for coming, and have a wonderful rest of your day and weekend. Thanks.
Thank you.